Hello everybody and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well, and today I'll be giving my review of the new film Dune 2021 and also talking a bit about the updated box office projections for this film, which domestically do not look all that great. But before going any further into that, please make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and also make sure you're subscribed to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream it goes live on the channel. So if you've been following the Odyssey of my channel, you know that I had a ticket to go see this last night in IMAX. Unfortunately, my little baby Thor and also Freya, my wife, unfortunately fell ill, and so I, of course, family comes first, had to take care of them, and they got priority there, and so I had to cancel my ticket. But one of the beauties of the current marketplace for films is that for at least Warner Brothers movies, they're being released day and date on HBO Max, and so I was still able to cobble together watching this film on HBO Max instead of in a theater, which is not the ideal way of watching this film. And that would be, like, I think the first thing I could say about it is that even though you totally can watch this film on a television and on a smaller screen, this film really is made for the big screen. It is truly made to be experienced in an IMAX screen, maybe even if there's a Dolby Vision screen. I know that typically those are, that's like the favorite film experience that I've ever had, is the Dolby theaters themselves, but this really deserves to be seen on a big screen because visually speaking, this movie is stunning. It's just as stunning as the trailers make it look. All the visual effects look top-notch. Everything about the film's look, cinematography-wise, is just phenomenal. So kudos and shout out to the cinematographer for this movie, because I think that it is absolutely an achievement in visuals. And that is not really all that surprising. Every single time, Denis Villeneuve, who you all know if you follow my channel for a while, is my favorite modern director working in Hollywood today. Every film that he makes is always very well shot. He always gets really good cinematographers and works really well with them to create stunning visual effects and also just stunning visual shots as well, really building up the worlds. And also, I would add on top of that, he works really well with production designers as well, right? Getting all of the things on screen looking the way that they are supposed to look, or at the very least, looking like everything fits together in this world. Obviously, Dune is an adaptation of a novel, and it has been done before by David Lynch. I was not a big fan of the David Lynch one because I'm just not a fan of David Lynch in general, and so I would say that compared to this one, just on the surface, I like this film a heck of a lot better. This film I would actually much rather rewatch again, and I totally plan on going to see this film again when I can actually go to see it in a theater, and especially in an IMAX theater at that. Cinematographer was Greg Fraser, who I don't really know a whole lot about. It says, though, that his work includes films like Zero Dark 30, which also I thought was pretty well shot, Lion from 2016, Rogue One, which, despite the fact that I don't like Rogue One all that much, I will say visually that kind of makes sense for me. Never saw the film on Vice, but anyway, he did a very good job on this. The music by Hans Zimmer. Some people have been complaining about it, saying that it's bland. I would say it's serviceable. I think that it doesn't distract you away from the story, which is a good thing. At the same time, I would argue and agree that there's not necessarily any memorable themes in the score of this film, and so again, some people might see that as a positive or a negative or as kind of a neutral. I'm kind of on a neutral on that. To me, the music should be there to support what you're seeing on screen, and I think that the score does that very well for this, despite the fact of not having anything really kind of to stick and to hold on to in that way. Let's talk about some other aspects of this film. The acting in this film is fantastic, obviously. You have a lot of very talented people. Timothy Chalamet is in the film. Rebecca Ferguson gives a really great performance. I did not expect from the Lady Jessica really to have as many powerful scenes as she had. I mean, obviously, if you've known anything in the book, I'm only about halfway through the actual book. I'm listening to it on audiobook, which I highly recommend, by the way. The audiobook is very, very well done. Obviously, she gets a lot of scenes, but I think that having her actually be seen, not speaking and not hearing her thoughts, and just having the actress just portray the emotions of the moments, especially when her son is being tested, by the High Mother of the time. I think that was, again, something that was really powerful. So Rebecca Ferguson's always been a very talented actress, and I thought she did great. Oscar Isaac as the father role in the movie, I thought also did a very good job. Josh Brolin did great. Stellan Skarsgård as the rival of the House of Atreides, I thought did a great job too. David Bautista, he's just Dave Bautista. He has kind of the same note in everything he does. There's a couple of scenes where he yells where I'm like, oh, this is exactly what you did in Guardians of the Galaxy. So he's kind of a one-note guy, but for the role that he has, as minor as it is, it's fine. It's totally passable. Zendaya isn't really in the film all that much, and so she does fine, I guess, for the role that she has. I will say that in the writing of the actual adaptation, there really isn't in the book that, at least I've noticed, any real flashes to a woman in the dreams of Paul Atreides, and so they very much heavily rely on all of his visions, all the visions that Paul Atreides has. Instead of it just being about Dune or about the future, it is very much focused on Zendaya a lot and very much focused on her. And so I don't know if that was just a choice the director made to try and set up for the next part of the story, which they'll cover in part 2 of the film, which obviously I have not gotten to yet because I'm only about halfway through the book. Maybe it'll make more sense when that character is revealed or when those dreams start to happen. Again, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with that. But anyway, so she's not in it all that much, and she, I think, still did a great job with it. Jason Momoa and Javier Bardem also in the film and also do a great job. So the acting, I think, again, is pretty spot on here. I think they all fit the characters very well. And as I said, production design is fantastic. Everything looks great. Arrakis looks fantastic. The sandworms look awesome. I remember just from the first trailer that we saw, I remember being so impressed already by the CG effects for the sandworm. It looks even better in the actual film itself. Can't imagine how awesome it's going to look on a big screen as well. Now, the only real issue that I think I have with the film actually is with the story. I think that the story over a 2.5-hour movie moves so slowly, or rather, you get really so little through the actual story in such a long length of time that it kind of made me ask a lot of questions as to why they only filmed this much, or if they're gonna only film this much of the story, why they didn't spend more time on certain things. Because I think if I had not read and had not listened to the audiobook of this film, even half of the audiobook before going into it, that I would have been confused by some of the things going on, right? Some of the terms and some of the concepts that are introduced are really fleshed out well in the book, whereas in the movie, it kind of isn't fleshed out at all, right? What a Bene Gesserit is, for instance, the role of Paul, right? You don't have any of the sayings of the princess, right? For instance, you have that throughout the novel, where you have these diaries, not these diaries, but these notations that have been made by the princess Eralam in the future, and so you don't really get any of that in this. And so I'm not mad that they didn't have those voiceovers and those small snippets throughout, because obviously it's hard to kind of make a film around those things, and also it kind of gives away some of the plot. So I think they were trying to keep it hey, for normies that are going to see this and experience this for the first time, we don't want to give too much of the plot away, and those kind of premonitions or those journal entries, I guess you could say, or history entries kind of give certain things away. And so maybe that was the reason why they did it. But I think not having, at the very least, some of the background on especially the role of Paul, why his role is significant as being a male born of a Bene Gesserit, and what a Bene Gesserit actually is, those kinds of things would have, I think, helped a lot. Now, I have talked to my brother, who is also a pretty big film buff like I am, and he has not read any of the books, and he did not feel confused at all. In fact, for him, he said it actually just makes him more hungry for it. He's actually mad because the fact that they haven't started filming yet the part 2 of this means that we're not going to get the film likely until like 2024 or 2025, and so he's mad that he's got to wait that long to find out more, and so he's probably going to go buy the books and dive into the story there because he wants to learn more about these actual characters. And when I explained to him my issues with it, he said, yeah, that sounds like an adaptation of a book, and he's someone that would know a lot more about that because he tends to be the reader of the book before actually consuming the material in a film or TV format. And that, I think, also is something that this film could have done a little bit of a better job with. I think this would have fit better actually as a miniseries. I think if Denis Villeneuve would have had the same vision, same budget, and same talent behind the camera and in front of the camera, he could have made an amazing 10-part plus miniseries event, hour-long episodes, where he could have covered some of the things that I mentioned that aren't covered, really fleshed these things out, and also created something truly amazing and truly beautiful at the same time. So overall, I do like this film. Don't get me wrong. If it sounds like I'm crapping on it, I'm not, because I'm just trying to think of it from a person that has no knowledge of the book or the source material and how they might view this book. I think that there might be some confusion from some of them. My little brother seems to indicate that there might be some people that are able to at least get enough of and enough from the story to be able to be entertained and to be intrigued and not to be confused. But I think that this is something that it's probably going to struggle with getting in normie audiences forward. In fact, if you look at the box office projections, right, these are the latest, the current box office outlook for the domestic opening of Dune is only $40 million. And so that's very much on the low end side of things. And obviously it's doing well in other parts of the world, but not really doing much or expected to do much domestically. And obviously they could be wrong on this. This could be a huge success because of IMAX screens or premium format screens. But as of right now, the question of whether this film will even make enough money to be profitable is still very much up in the air. It's got to make over $400 million worldwide to break even, and it's only about $115 million. Or $125 million last time I checked. So it'll probably be well over $200 million this weekend, but hey, that still means it's got halfway to go before breaking even, and it's already been out in tons of markets for about a month. So it doesn't have a lot of time and a lot of places left to be able to make that money back. It still very well could, but overall it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But again, just in a summary, I think the acting in this film is fantastic. Production design, cinematography are freaking gorgeous. Again, the visual effects. If you're someone that likes visuals, you will love this film. I think it's great. The story also, I think, is also very good. So it's not to say that the story is bad. I just do think if you're going into this blind without knowing anything of the original story, whether from the original film or better yet from the novel, that there might be some moments and some characters and some concepts that might be a little confusing. And so I would say that it might actually be beneficial to even at least go through half of the book first. But again, obviously everyone's going to be a little bit different on that. But if I had to give this film a grade, I'm going to go ahead and give this film a B+. I thought that it was a very solid film, a very solid opening. But as I said, it does take a long time to tell very little of a story. And to me, it would have fit better in a miniseries format because that kind of lends itself to that kind of storytelling where you can spend a lot of time on things, slow burn building up, whereas in a movie, it's a lot harder to sell that to audiences, which makes it a lot harder to sell to producers to keep funding these kinds of movies to continue the story on overall. So anyway, as I said, I've been looking forward to this film for a long time. Denis Villeneuve still has not let me down, and this is no different. He has not let me down with this one. However, I would say this is definitely not one of my favorites of his. However, I think a lot of that could be impacted by the fact that I watched this and had to watch it on a smaller screen because it's got all of the objective elements that I think are just the hallmark of good filmmaking. But I do think some of the story elements could be a little bit confusing. But what are your thoughts about Dune? Have you seen it yet? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Also, do you think it's going to make any money this weekend? We'll have to, of course, wait and see. But anyway, let me know in the comments section. If you like this video, smash that like button. Light up that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Huge shout out to Kara Tharp and Biffer the Hobbit, who are supporters over on Locals. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my Patreon, Subscribestar, and Locals members. Andrew Hoyle, Animation Commentator, Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyle, 79, Laura, the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Dion, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Rosetta Allen, Stan Andrian, Teresa Martin, Theodore Benden, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., the Empress of the Universe. Thank you for being my Patreon members. And a huge shout out to my Subscribestar members, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss Slash, the new number 2, J-Rod, the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Subscribestar. And to my one Locals member, Robert Barnes, thank you for supporting me over on Locals. And if you want a name shouted out, or your name rather, shouted out at the end of every single live stream and video, please consider joining on one of those platforms, either Patreon, Subscribestar, or Locals. Links to that can be found in the description. Look at that top link especially. It's called the Willow link there. It'll give you links to all the social media platforms and also ways to support the channel. If you want to be an Army of Asgard level or above member, you can get access to giveaways that I do every single month. I give away 4Ks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. It is a lot of fun. Also, if you join at the Keeper of the Bifrost level, you get access to all of that. Plus, you get access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. We have a lot of fun. We do that once or twice a month. And if you join at the Chosen of Valhalla level, you get all of that. Plus, in your first month, you get a t-shirt of your choice and send anywhere in the world. And also, you get to be featured on the channel once a month on the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we get to hang out and have a good time. So anyway, if any of that sounds good, check out that link in the top of the video as I mentioned. You guys are amazing and beautiful people. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.